letting them update it for you than not having it updated at all. Also, when you get those nice little messages that come up and says, XXX program has decided to stop or has caused an error and must be stopped. Do you want to tell Microsoft about it? Okay? I would encourage you to say, yes, send the information. We had the Microsoft security guys in a while back, and what they told us was they have a very large staff that looks at those error messages when they come in and actually tries to figure out what's causing the problem. And what they find is the vast majority are caused by malware. The vast majority are caused by malware. The next biggest hit after that is video drivers. Okay? So send them in, because a lot of times what Microsoft will do then is they look at this stuff that comes in and they can see where the problems are, and the next update pack they actually send out things to remove that malware. Okay? You don't know they're doing that. They don't tell you they're doing that, but they are doing that. Okay? So send that stuff in, because that does help them and helps all of us, because when they put it in to remove it, it removes it from everybody, whether you knew you had it or not. Okay? And I think that's everything I have. And we have a few minutes left, so any questions, comments? Yes?
Okay. You shared this case study that happened in Rolls-Royce. How prevalent, or do you have any information that shows that this is happening at your peers that are also in the defense industry?
Well, I can't give you specifics. What I can tell you is that as a result of these issues over the last 18 months, what we have done is that a number of us have come together on our own as companies and formed the Defense Security Information Exchange. And this includes about 50 or 60 different defense companies, and all for the purpose of being able to share more easily these events when they come up and alert one another to them, because we're all being hit by the same thing. The Air Force has been very heavily instrumental in pushing a specific military similar consortium, because they were concerned about particular Air Force programs that were being affected by this. Okay? Now, what's happened since that is that the Defense Industrial Board, which is basically a board made up of major contractors and the DoD, has put together what is called the CPAC, which is the Critical Information Protection something else committee. Anyway, CPAC has taken a big interest in this, and the Air Force program is merging into the CPAC program, and most of the big defense contractors are part of that. And again, it's mainly to get the endorsement. If we can get the endorsement from DoD for us to share information, it makes it a lot easier to be able to do that without having to run afoul of antitrust laws and things of that nature. You always people kind of look askance when they see all these contractors together talking to each other, because they start thinking antitrust, collusion, things of that nature. What we're really trying to do is share information of the security nature, so that if one of us gets attacked, everybody else doesn't have to get attacked before they find out about it. So yeah, there's evidence from that standpoint. I've talked to some of their security folks. I know they've been through the same thing, but I can't give any specifics on that without violating their trust.
Would it be safe to make assumptions from a layman's point of view that this may be similar to what's been in the newspaper recently, the news stories about the non-secure networks in the Pentagon? And I'm not assuming that you have any direct information, just as an expert who's had to deal with this on the corporate side, would you suspect that this may be something similar?
Yes, I would suspect that it would be something similar, because the non-secure NIPRNet side, they call it, of the DoD, is probably run a lot like commercial enterprises are. And looking, and I'll kind of deviate here a little bit. In my other life, okay, I'm a member of DoD. I'm an Air Force Air Guard officer. Okay, so I have to deal with when they come out with some of their draconian changes because they're reacting to something. I get hit with it on that side too. And we have had some must change your password immediately issues that have come up, and they've gone to more extensive requirements for passwords all in the last year or so. So I think you could probably put two and two together and come to a conclusion that they're seeing the same things we're seeing. Yes?
This whitelisting process that you mentioned, is that something that's reasonable, you think, just particularly for aging net blocks, but even for just business in general? Is that an onerous process, or is it something you can work through?
So there are, it's,
You somewhat repeat the question.
oh, okay, yeah, the question was about whitelisting, whether or not that was an onerous process or something that could be reasonably implemented in a commercial enterprise. Yes and no, okay? A lot of it depends on the users being able to let you know they have an issue with a company that needs to be whitelisted. That's usually your biggest problem, is that users don't understand that there's a requirement for the process. And so what happens is they say, I'm not getting my email. Well, they're not getting their email because the address was in a blocked range and they didn't tell us about it. And so it may take them some days to figure out, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should have told you about, to chase down what the problem was. Once you know what the problem was, it's not a very onerous process, but it does take manpower and effort. Okay? And that's where the problem comes in, that you always have to have somebody look at it and say, yeah, okay, we approve this, and then somebody else has to implement it. Now, there are tools out there to make that easier. How many of you have ever tried to email the IRS? Okay, I know it's not the most fun thing to do, or even the most fun thing to think about. But I do recall about 18 months ago, for whatever reason, I was trying to do something with them. I can't remember what it was. I'm still free, so it must not have been too bad. They haven't put me in jail. But anyway, I wanted to email somebody there, and what happened was they had an automated system that they had to do something with their automated system before it would allow me to email somebody inside the IRS. So there are automated systems out there that do some level of these whitelisting checks that can be implemented. Now, most companies haven't because it is probably not cheap. But quite frankly, I think you're going to see more and more of that. I think what you're going to see more and more of is, rather than a allow all and deny by exception, it's going to be deny all and allow by exception. And you're going to see everybody working to whitelist or something similar to that, because this spam issue is just getting so bad, and the malicious code that's being embedded in it is getting so onerous that companies just aren't going to deal with it anymore. It's just too expensive to deal with. We're looking right now, there's a company called Ironport, which is owned by Cisco, that makes a nice little device for email gateway control. And we're looking at right now putting that in, and we've got it running right now in monitor-only mode. And we have found, by just monitoring and just doing reputation checking, where reputation checking is, it looks at the IP address of the sender, looks at the rich registry of known bad stuff, no bad addresses and stuff, and sees if the address matches the domain. Just doing that, we're finding 80% of the email coming in is going to be stopped right there. 80% of the email we're receiving is trash before you even look at it. Okay? Why should we, and then we're talking millions of messages a day in this case, okay? Why do we have to deal with that? Why do we have to spend a couple $100,000 to put this thing out there to do that work? All because of spam and malicious code. So if we go to a deny all, we can get rid of a lot of that stuff and simplify our systems and our networks and the size of them. I think you're going to see more and more companies start looking at that. Yes?
Sorry. You said that you destroyed the hard disk, crashed them. How do you do that?
Well, we have a couple different methods, okay? And it depends on how sensitive we feel the data may have been on it. We may just degauss it and then trash it, or we may send it to our shredder. Just depends on how nervous we are about what data may be. Degauss. Yeah, basically you just, like running a magnet over it. Okay? Yeah, we do our best to make sure that when it's destroyed, and you're not going to find it on eBay. And we have a similar process we do when we retire machines. We do something similar when we just retire machines because, that is a big problem. When you're looking at a user population in the tens of thousands, that means that you're probably retiring machines on a daily basis because you're refreshing on a 3 or 4 year cycle. You've got to be doing this on a regular basis. You've got to have a process to do it, or you will find your hard drives on eBay with all kinds of nice information. Any other questions? We've got a couple more minutes here. All right. Well, thanks for your attention, and hopefully I gave you some things to think about, if nothing to scare you half to death. But I know you're all going to go home tonight and make sure your machines are updated and get rid of your administrative accounts and lock everything down, right?
Mr. Ehinger, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate